Hello, welcome everyone. So still actually same day, first day of my recordings, and I just decided to make a bit more hands-on video to create some more content for people that like things more outdoorsy and mechanically sort of minded videos. Maybe just to describe my mechanic situation here and my lack of funding and what I do and the tricks and tips and hacks that I do to fix bits and pieces. So just to begin with, I'm actually lacking tools. I used to have a full toolbox in Australia, etc, and then I moved here in New Zealand to study, and I had to let everything go, and it's all gone. I actually had a ported and polished 1.3 Suzuki engine, the G13B, and that got chucked in the bin when my parents moved house because they just don't understand what it involves and what this type is, you know. It's only for people that are in the know. But again, like I say, my videos can relate to many things, because just that action in and of itself ties into narcissism. Okay, so they've done a very narcissistic thing there, especially when I specified for them not to throw that out, and I was willing to I mean, first of all, they could easily just stored it weight and it was all in pieces, boxed and stuff, to be able to ship or move easily. Anyways, back on topic. This is my Golf 99 Golf GTX 1.8 turbo. It's actually a automatic. One flaw that was straight from factory it's actually the fact that how most gearboxes, auto gearboxes, I don't know if you can exactly see here, but that's the actual unit that cools down the gearbox, which normally you'd have like a bit of a thing here, you know, like a radiator cooling down the transmission oil, and it's actually only being cooled by the coolant itself, the engine coolant, and it doesn't, so the gearbox doesn't actually like operating at 90 degrees Celsius, that's where it gets once the engine's warmed up. So I've actually picked up an external wee radiator to use to hook it up extra there, but for now what I've done is actually I've pulled the thermostat out to keep temperatures a bit lower, and that has actually helped tremendously, and it doesn't throw any more codes in that regard. But of course I have to wait for operating temperature, and I'm not too happy because I know the engine block can actually get hot spots and things like that. So it's something that I'm going to have to fix. Now the rest, this is actually grounding. So what I've done is I've tried and hooked up in different points. It is just temporary to fix a bit of an issue it had with the grounds, because the grounding of the battery is actually underneath the tray there. That has a bit of an error as well, and also of course I need the wee shocky there. Yep. So I do have a few bits and pieces to fix in that regard. And before I close the engine, I've actually done a few modifications. So the blow-off valve here is aftermarket. I've actually put a stronger external spring on the wastegate to be able to raise the PSI on it. These cars come with like almost acts like a non-turbo. I've deleted a few of the secondary air injection pipes from the system to simplify it, as well as I didn't like his blow-off valve. They're what I call show pony blow-off valves. So I've blocked off some of the things here from the intake, rerouted this you guys know what I mean, the blow-by gases that usually get dumped straight into the air intake there, which especially when you raise the PSI slightly, I'm running about 15 to 17 PSI. Well, considering how small the turbo is, it acts like a standard GT28 turbo. That would be about 10 to 12 PSI. I mean, the intake on this turbo is the size of a coin, like just slightly bigger than that, something like that, like a 50-cent coin piece from Australia. And I've done this little cold air intake there, you can see, down to there, and it seems to work. So far it's been working very, very well, considering the money that I've invested into it. I mean, I'm not even running a pod filter. I've just put in a what do you call it, mesh in there. So that's all it's got for now. When I will get around to some funding, I'm more than keen to actually put in a proper filter, and yeah, on some tricks and tips. This goes to like any car. If you want to improve, sorry about the lighting, I think the sun was getting right into the lens. So one thing that I always recommend is, if you're not in a hurry, and especially if it's winter, do not jump in your car, start it up and drive straight away. That's one way to well, and especially if you're driving it straight away within the first 30 seconds, because you're actually putting the engine under load when it's not properly lubricated. One, not to mention that you know, it'll be fairly dry, all the oil's drained all the way down into the sump. There'll still be some oil, you know, left around, but it's definitely not the way it's meant to be when it's operating properly. And two, the thickness, the viscosity of the oil it's not where it's meant to be at, because it's not at operating temperature. Obviously all the oils are built, are made to have a certain thickness at a certain temperature, which usually is about 90 degrees Celsius or so. Yeah, and if you have your thermostat pulled out the way I have, what I found that it helps actually keeping the engine running to wait there to warm it up. It actually doesn't warm up as quick as it does if I switch it off every now and then, because it actually, and that's why I'm not very happy with having the thermostat pulled out. And my best option will be to get a thermostat in there, but I'll probably end up just drilling a few holes in it just to have a little bit of extra flow in there, due to the fact that the car is automatic and there's a bit of a what I call engineering flaw from factory. It's just what happens when they over-engineer things, and it's just too many departments compartmentalized, etc., and they'll just try and do their best, and you end up having some errors there and there. So that's one thing that I do. I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing here. And this is a external sorry, it's a blower valve that I've blower valve, sorry, my bad. Not very professional today, I'm still a newbie. It's my boost gauge. I've paid, I think it was $80 Australian or something for it. Quite a good boost gauge. I mean, it's slightly bigger than your 1-inch diameter one. I think it's 1.5 inch. Yeah, something like that. And it actually goes up to 30 psi, which most boost gauges you see these days are slightly smaller, and they usually only go up to about 25 or 30 psi. Not that you know, I'd get up to there, but you'd rather, you know, have a bit of range there rather than not enough. And when I drive it to drive it economical, it actually helps seeing the vacuum, not getting into boost. And if I'm really conservative with my fuel, I actually try and stay below about 10 or 8 vacuum. So yeah, that's one way to save fuel. Some cars like the the BMWs, they actually have that inbuilt in the dash. I know the ones from 90s and early thousands have that. Not 100%. These new ones probably are all electronic. Now, you know, if you guys, you know, get to, you know, if you guys see the fact that I do know a bit about cars, and I'd really like to get into more, and if you guys have questions about certain bits and pieces, I've done my first project car that I've really worked on. This car I wouldn't really call a project car. It's my daily. I do like to do little modifications there and there, but I like to keep it as a daily, and just to have function on it. I mean, even the boost gauge, I've put it on there for the fact that I had no way to see what boost I'm running, and the way it was running before I started bumping the boost up, it was just, I mean, well, why would you even put a turbo on there? You know what I mean? Like the way it was running at 7 psi with the, because it's also, how I've said previously, is the size of the turbo. If it's very small, is one way, the car runs one way when you've got a really tiny turbo running say 10 psi, and when you've got a big turbo running 10 psi. It's just maths, is the amount of air that gets passed through there. So it's just, yeah, and I mean, even if you are to crank this turbo right up and weld the wastegate shut or something, which I'd never do, it's very silly, or block it somehow, it just cannot push enough air when it comes into higher revs. I mean, its optimum, it's probably between 3.5 to 4,500 revs. So once it goes past 4.5, it'll still go nicely, but you can definitely tell that there's a lot more power that it would put out if that's the case. I'm not aiming for super power or anything like that. I like it when a car runs just the right way, and it's not struggling in any way, shape or form, and it's reliable, etc., etc. So to get back on my train of thought there, I started modifying this Suzuki Swift 1994, the GTI. I bought it, somebody's already done things to it, which is basic, just a basic slap on of a turbo. So they've just chucked on a turbo. They've managed to get a turbo manifold from somewhere, with a fairly big turbo on it for the size of the engine. I mean, that turbo was, I think it was like a GT28, I think, something similar to that. And I've picked it up when it started having a head gasket problem, obviously, because they haven't done anything about the compression ratio, which that car in particular, that engine in particular, they come with, I think it was 11:1 compression ratio, which is quite a big compression ratio for a you know, if you're going to put a turbo on there. And what's happened is they've tried to race it, things of this nature. It had boost leak issues, etc, etc, not to mention that it wasn't roadworthy. They haven't done anything in regards of and being in Australia, they've got very high health and safety regulations over there in that regard. And what I decided to do is try and actually modify this car properly and try and actually get it legal, you know. And one thing that I started doing a whole bunch of research on is how to have a how to sort out the EFI system, because I mean you cannot get better control than through the let's see if I can put the phone here and go for a drive while you guys are watching. So yeah, maybe this will help, hopefully. Cool. So basically after months and months of you know, using a bus to go to work and just doing hours and hours every day of research to learn how a turbo works properly, what a compression ratio is, what the options were for me, and you know, how to get in control of the EFI on the car, etc, etc. And you know, there are mechanical options, but they're fairly limited and not very accurate. You run quite high risk. Anyways, I got to the point where I was like, I better get a standalone ECU, so I decided to go for a Mega Squirt EMS Pro, which was absolutely cool. But the problem was I got stuck at the keeping the engine timing proper, because the G13B engine 94 one only has a cam angle sensor, so it didn't have a crank angle sensor. So what I ended up doing is trying to connect that up, and there's not many people that had the proper codes for that car to actually get it to load the right file in there to be able to just start the car up. So I ended up actually having to modify the cam angle sensor, and it wasn't perfect, and yeah, I was having misfires, etc, etc. So I needed another $500 or so to get the proper crank angle sensor, you know, a hole sensor, something like that, which are not very cheap. Anyways, and in regards of compression ratio, I was looking at getting different pistons, and I actually ended up pulling the whole engine apart. I've actually pulled it apart and put it together and successfully started it up, even took it for a wee run, etc, etc. But the car was not, I mean, I'm the type of guy that if I know something that's wrong with the car, I'm not gonna use it, you know, just because it works until it blows up or something like that. I've never done that. Or as soon as I hear something's wrong that could potentially, you know, result in catastrophic damage, I definitely you know, stop the engine, stop the car, and further investigate. Now what happened is I ended up having to abandon the project again because of funding. If people want to know more about other problems that I've been dealing with, you know, in regards to not knowing a lot about maritime law and about how our rights are not quite where they should be, etc, etc. That had a lot to do with, you know, not being able to stick to, you know, to saving money and being able to be in control of my money, etc, etc. So that wasn't cool, and I decided to return to New Zealand. We're here. I've got a much better status, and yeah, I've got more of a chance to have success in my life and stick to the plans that I have. Especially I wanted to study. At least I've managed to get my high school degree slightly above, I guess. Career preparation sort of course. Was actually through the university, so it was a fairly good experience. Not easy though. It was a type of course that they've made for people that actually finished high school, and it was more of a refresher type of course. Anyways, so I ended up just yeah, having to sell all the bits and pieces that I had. I had yeah, my ECU, my Stellanose ECU, and a whole bunch of other stuff like you know, 500cc injectors, an injector driver, and many other things. One thing that I did keep though is this boost gauge that I don't regret getting rid of, and of course my knowledge, which that is irreplaceable. I mean, thousands of hours of research, etc., things that some people say was a waste of time, which I know it was a good investment, things that I'm willing to share with you guys. And you know, I'm sure there's many others out there that might know even more than what I do, or the way I see it, everybody knows bits and pieces, and if we come together and have chats and share videos and help each other out, we all come better off. We all end up being better off. So that's where it's at. That's a bit of a this is a bit of a rant about my mechanic side of things, and I'm actually on my way to go to the gym, and hopefully the sauna. We'll see how it goes. It is a public holiday today. It's Labor Day here in New Zealand, and I might be unlucky and everything might be shut, but then again, it was definitely a good opportunity to make this video and yeah, just try and show you guys a bit more about who I am and what I do. And then to maybe explain a bit more about who I am. You could say I'm a bit of a loner, but then again, I'm not a introvert. It's just certain circumstances that have drawn me to focus a bit more on my personal growth and maybe making new friends rather than being lodged in with a whole bunch of people and things of this nature, situations that I don't quite identify with. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that in that regard. But things have been quite good for me recently. Yeah, I don't have a job at the moment. I don't have a girlfriend, but what I do have is a whole bunch of work at home. I look after myself in many ways, as in like I like to cook my own cooked food. I like to fix everything myself if possible, and things of this nature. I like my independence, should we say. And yeah, I like going to the gym. It's not easy sometimes, especially when I used to work full-time, and especially, you know, if I'm going to start doing more research for you guys, more videos and things of this nature. I also have other little bits and pieces that you know, I need to do for myself, for my personal life, and it's just the way it is. Other than that, what can I say? I'm constantly being interrupted by people like that. Are you alright? Anyways, every now and then I get these all sorts of weird people that just would not you know, do the right thing, basically. You know, I keep on trying to put myself in their shoes and think like, how would I act? Like, what would I do in that situation? You know, like, why would you try to obstruct someone, or, you know, block someone in or something for no reason, you know, or like create a scene, or, you know, it requires, and in that regard, it requires one, energy spent from their side, and then energy spent from my side along with potential emotional flashbacks. You know, someone like myself, I've been through a lot in this life so far, and I hope I get to go through a whole lot more of better experiences. But it doesn't help in many regards to, you know, be a nasty person, to, you know, and yeah, you have to come back to the conclusion that they are some form of cluster B sufferers, as you know, people like Richard Grannon, Ross Rosenberg, and many others on YouTube, Sam Vaknin, and the list just can carry on, as many people are realizing how some people's mentalities are, how some people's minds work. And it's very sad, because it's not of a helpful nature to no one, really. You know, even the abusers, I don't think they get to, other than their quick narcissistic supply fix, I don't think they actually get to walk away with much experience or something that they can use in their life that's going to help them in any way, shape or form. It's like lying to yourself or something like that. So again, you know, I've explained before how you know, I go into multiple facets of things of life, you know, and I'm quite curious if I start doing these vlogs and this type of thing, which won't necessarily be just vlogs. Like I said, I'll try and keep it on particular subjects. And I'm very curious to see how things will pan out, because, like I've mentioned, there are people out there that just seem to try and bug me for no reason. Or is it that the world? How I've watched a recent video from Richard Grannon, actually, how even he's mentioned that the world is not in a good place right now, you know. Maybe that might be the case, you know. Maybe we all need to revise, you know, our privacy and things of this nature, and that can be quite tricky, actually, especially once you haven't done all your homework in terms of maritime law. So that, like I say in my description, etc., etc., there are multiple facets of life that I'm willing to try and explain, and I can't wait for some comments and, you know, some people to talk to, actually. So once again, thank you for watching, or actually, is it the first time? But yeah, thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe, and if you can, please do donate. It would really help a good cause here. And if you do donate, please make sure to have a comment in there to describe, to explain what you would like me to talk about, or if you actually want me to use that money for a particular cause, you know, to do something in particular. Now there will be things that you know, I might not be able to do, or I might not agree to do, as long as it sticks to, quote unquote, my normal life, such as making this car better, you know, things of that nature. If you guys want me to travel somewhere to show some parts of New Zealand or something like that, I'm more than happy to, as long as we are respecting, you know, people's privacy and things of that nature. And yeah, I actually really like how YouTube's got a rule in there where you're not allowed to film kids and things of that nature. Now that's very good, you know. I would even add a few other things in there, to be honest, you know, such as if somebody doesn't want to be in a video, you know, doesn't want their thing on there, don't add them in there, you know. It's more than fair. You know, the level of narcissism and combination with technology almost has no end. So yeah, and with that, I'll leave you guys, and all the best, and I hope to hear from you guys, and looking forward to read your comments. All the best for now. Bye.